we should be live. Double check up on my YouTube channel myself. Excuse me. What up, Daniel Barry? How you doing today, my guy? Good to see someone in the chat. Helps me know that the live is working correctly. Cause sometimes it be acting a little weird, you feel me? But welcome in, my guy. How you doing? All right, and it is showing us live. Beautiful. All right, but we're not gonna, excuse me, waste around too much time today. We're gonna get really kind of right into this. We're, you know, apologize to anyone. I doubt anyone's been like truly like waiting since 2 days ago for this special to come out. So if you are or were, I apologize. Officially welcome in to Darwin's Raven Offensive Draft Special. I'm your host, aka Darwin's Raven, D Rave, Levi, whatever you want to call me, guys. Just like last year, we're doing our specials this year. We got a little behind schedule. We've been doing a lot of car maintenance. I just changed the front end shocks and struts on my girlfriend's car. I've got a full brake job ahead of me as well as some other work. So apologies if you were waiting. We got a little bit behind, but we're here now. We're going to go ahead and try to get the defensive draft special up tomorrow before the draft starts, where, of course, you can catch us live through every single day of the draft. We will be live. So make sure you tune in and check us out. What up, CarCast? How you doing, my guy? Welcome in. But all right, with that, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Bear with me. I'm trying my best to get this. Oh yeah, I'm going to be streaming all 3 days. We've already got it all scheduled. You can check it out under my live section and the 2024 draft coverage podcast playlist. So as per usual, guys, if you weren't here for our draft special last year, of course, last year we crushed it. We do these draft specials primarily focused on guys that are third round or lower. First round, second round, we're not going to spend time on that. That's a lot of the easier picks. I'm looking for those guys that are third round and later. Now, small disclaimer, that's a lot different coverage from last year to this year. This year, the NFL's coverage of the combine, in my opinion, was just awful. Piss poor. I'm sorry, Rich Eisen. I love you. I have so much love for you and everything that you've done for the NFL draft. However, the coverage this year, the cutting away from drills to, do impressions that were badly done. I joked about it on Twitter, guys. If you didn't see, they didn't know what a hand towel was, and they called a hand towel a bath mat during the hoop drills for the edge rushers. So we had a little fun poking at Rich Eisen for that. Sorry, Rich. We had to make a little joke at your expense. But, it wasn't the same. And then on top of that, I had to miss some days to do some stuff, with the girlfriend during the combine this year. So when I came back to watch the combine, even on NFL right now, they only have 1 day of combine footage, basically running back, wide receiver, QB. And, in the combine, a lot of people, let me make my stake here on the combine. A lot of people, it's the underwear Olympics, and I truly understand that. There's only so much value you should put in certain numbers, but there are little signs and hints there. Case in point, Puka Nakua had the fastest time in the gauntlet drill last year while also making I went back and watched it. Basically, every catch is on the hands in front, solid hands. Did have a little hiccup here and there, but Of course, they don't publish that speed. That's something you have to sit there and take a stopwatch or, next gen stat, get the mile per hour on. But it's something I look for is these guys that aren't guaranteed to really get drafted. They're trying to make some money out there. And how serious you take a drill, I feel like demonstrates a certain mentality or mindset, may even say competitiveness. Um, I'm going to tell you right now, there's going to be a guy on our wide receiver list today that caught my attention for one reason only. When we were running through and rewatching some of the slant drills that we found on another YouTube channel for wide receivers like 1 through 17 or whatever, I really liked how his head fake. I like how he sold with his head on his route, even though it was a drill. And it was that small difference. I was like, all right, let me go look up this guy a little more. Oh yeah, I was actually checking him out today. Carcast says if you could look into the Air Force safety Trey Taylor. I know. Actually, I was finalizing up a little bit of the defensive draft special that I'm going to air tomorrow before the draft. And of course, looking at all the PFF grades, he flashes across the board on almost everything. I'm a little wary of Army and Navy, Air Force guys, but last year they had a guy that was pretty good. Thoughts on extending Bateman? Ooh, that is excuse me. I mean, if you've got, I haven't seen that flash across mine. Oh, there it is. Yeah, reach contract extension with Rashad Bateman. How did I not get the memo for that? Let's see here. What's the extension? Yep, and he had one of the best separation grades last year in the NFL. Haven't seen what the deal is, but I'm glad they got it done. A lot of the flock has not been on Bateman's side recently. He was struggling with some injuries when he came into the league. However, last year he put together a full and complete season. However, just based on how Harbaugh and the coaching staff did it, I believe Nelson Aguilar saw more snaps than him. But like PFF talks about, Bateman had one of the highest separation grades in the NFL last year. Just the balls weren't going his way, or he was, So you got to be able to separate in the NFL. That's what I like to see. He was known as a route runner coming out of University of Minnesota. I expect big things from Bateman this year. But all right, let's talk quarterbacks like we always do, guys. And if you didn't watch our draft special last year, a lot of our guys, third round, I'm telling you got to go back and watch. Case in point, my running back room crushed last year. My running back room last year consisted of Devon Achane, Keaton Mitchell, Tank Bigsby, Evan Hull, and Chase Spears. And if you don't know those names, you're not really paying attention. But all right, let's talk about some quarterbacks. And before I get into my 5 guys that are third round or lower. So again, if they've got a big board grade of 1 to 70, you're probably not going to see them on our special today. But I want to talk about some quarterback numbers. I know you might be hard to read these ones, but let's talk about it. When you break down the play action passing numbers and the overall grades, and now mind you, most of these stats are always going to filter out a 20 to 50% minimum attempt, no matter the position. So keep that in mind. But the top 3 play action passing quarterbacks in college football last year: Penix, Daniels, okay, Watson. You might not know that name, Watson. I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to forget that name after today. So Watson, of course, third on that list, but he had 212 play action dropbacks compared to Penix's 178 and Jaden Daniels' 54. So not only was he always in that play action, but he excelled in it. Keep an eye on this, young man. Specifically breaking down deep passing, intermediate passing, and short passing. The leaders in the deep passing department: Daniels, May, Hartman. Hartman, of course, I believe was the Notre Dame. No, not Notre Dame. had great hair at the combine. There's 14 quarterbacks with over a 90-plus grade deep. Daniel also leads the completion with McCarthy right behind him. Another thing I don't know. If I had to take one, what up, David McNiner? What up, my guy? Yeah, we hit 600 subscribers. If I had one takeaway from the little bit of numbers I observed, I'm really questioning the Caleb Williams thing, but I'm probably just crazy. I definitely think I'd take Jaden Daniels over him. Jaden Daniels leads big-time throw percentages with 45% in the deep passing game, and Drake May leads drops in deeps. The next highest is Gunnar Watson from Troy with 5. So that's a number we're going to keep an eye on as well, is drop passes and adjusted completion percentages. So that's one of those ones, again, if 7 drops deep for Drake could have been a huge difference. You know, I've been harping on Drake, but looking at the numbers, I got to put a little more faith in him. I saw him throwing some deep balls the other day. They did look pretty nice, honestly. Like, he does have the tools. David McNiner, I did say great hair at the combine. If you weren't watching the combine, Sam Hartman was part of the first quarterback group, and he really, dude, I think he was like one of the only quarterbacks that ran a second 40 or something like that. So he was all by himself. It was pretty funny, and he had this long, just luscious hair. Quick look at the intermediate passing game. There was 8 quarterbacks, so down from 14 with a 90-plus intermediate grade. The leaders in that category were Bo Nix, Jason Plumey, and McCarthy. And Plumey's another name you're going to hear come up here shortly. Short passing leaders, only 1 quarterback actually above 90-plus, and that's actually Caleb Williams. So maybe that's why everyone wants him, but the last stats covered by my camera, and we're going to talk about that with Caleb Williams. Another big stat line we're going to be talking about is passing pressure. How did they perform under pressure? And there's going to be 2 different separations. That there's pressure, which just means like a base got there, and then of course there's the blitz pressure. Leading the normal passing pressure is Bo Nix, Jason McCarthy, Penix, and then in 4th place, my boy Gunnar Watson. Nix saw less than 100 pressures, though. So, under the blitz category, you've got Plumey leading the way, Nix, Daniels, and Williams. So, again, there's that name again, Plumey, coming up for you. The final stat, though, under pressure, turnover-worthy play percentages. That's us covered up on my camera a little bit. Caleb Williams is tied for 2nd with Hartman and Granger at 9.2%. Meaning, basically, Caleb Williams got away with some plays. In perspective to the other top-rated quarterbacks in this draft, you've got J.J. McCarthy at 20th on that list with a 6.8%. Michael Penix, 36 with 4.1%. And Jaden Daniels, 47th with a 2.8%. That threw up a yellow flag for me on Caleb Williams. I'll be honest with you, but maybe I might just be crazy. But all right, QB number 1 on the draft special. We're going with Spencer Rattler. I know this man's had some issues in his career. I know he was so hot and cold at USC. He's got to definitely develop on a few things. He's not a starter right now. But he does have the tools. And he's one of the guys, 2nd highest adjusted accuracy when blitzed. He had so many drops, especially when blitzed, that he could have had a completely different grade on him. It was one of those guys also at the combine, again, that made not only me, but some of these analysts kind of like, wait a minute. I might have to go back and watch the film on this guy. Which brings us to our guy number 2. You literally heard Rich Eisen and his other coach, or not coach, I'm sorry. His other broadcasters watching this guy throw and said, you know what? Man, the balls just look good coming out of his hand. I might have to go back and watch some tape on this guy. And I'm telling you, this is another guy. that seems to have that arm, especially on his short throws. Of course, longest throw we had him on his go routes was around the 35. To put that in perspective, J.J. McCarthy's longest was a 28. So, of course, not as an elite arm as you would like, but just seems to put really good velocity on the ball. Sixth highest drop percentage might lean that he needs to learn how to throw with finesse a little bit. Seventh average depth of throw, and 10th in turnover worthy plays when blitzed first while under pressure. Might be a red flag. So he's showed really bad decision making sometimes at the University of Kentucky. Like sometimes he looked really good, and then there was other times he looked really bad. I definitely would rate his potential less than his former classmate Anthony Richardson, the quarterback of the Colts. But excuse me, as someone to develop into maybe a short game passer that has, can probably make those NFL time throws, might be a guy. But these two guys, I'm not really that high on. I honestly just had to find more guys. I'm going to tell you, this is my guy. 100%, this is my guy. If you go on pff.com to do the mock draft, he's not even there. 6-year starter for Troy. I believe one of the only players that just stayed at the same college the entire time. Let me double check this. I don't want to get this wrong here. 6'3", 207. Yep. 6-year player for Troy. Didn't really start his first 2 years, 2018, 2019, but was then a 4-year starter from 2020 to 2023. Showed pretty damn good growth. So let's talk about it. 8th overall in passing grade, 27 touchdowns to 6 interceptions. 5th in passing pressure, 10th in blitz pressure. 3rd place if you up the snap percentage to a 50%. 5th time to throw under pressure, and 3rd in play action passing, which we hyped on him earlier. How many times he was doing play action passing compared to other draft prospects is unreal. Most play action drop back attempts in the class by a huge margin, and while play action passing, 17 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. 60.6 completion percentage. Might have to work on it, but this is one of these guys, when I went back and I watched the film on him, I was like, all right, we have to, of course, pay attention to his release. And his time to throw under pressure made me pay attention to him more. And, of course, you're going to see another player from Troy going in this draft. That's Kamani Vidal. We're going to feature him in the running back special. But this kid, it seemed like when he got to a certain point in his release mechanic that it snaps. It's a weirdly fast release. I don't know quite the best way to explain it, but I feel like it can work. And I think this kid's going to slide under the radar here in the draft. Last year, one of our guys that we thought was going to slide, he looked good throwing at the combine, and then we had to dig deep, was Tyson Bagent, who, of course, became an undrafted rookie free agent for the Chicago Bears and started some games for them when Justin Fields was injured. Won them some games. That's the best you could ask from an undrafted rookie free agent. Not everyone can be Brock Purdy. And I think Gunnar Watson, quarterback from the University of Troy, is going to pull a little Trojan horse on some team this year. Derby says, what do you think about trading up for Malik Neighbors? Oh, Neighbors is... I can understand a lot more now. And I try not to pay too much attention to these first-round guys when I was doing my studies, but of course, their numbers just start popping. And I can understand why some teams would have maybe Neighbors higher, or of course Marvin Harrison number 1, or even Rome Odunze. But I feel like Baltimore would have to give up way too much because there's no way he gets past top 10. And I don't have the trade value chart in front of me right now, but I can tell you that's more than Baltimore wants to give away. So here's another guy that you heard his name come up a little bit on we were talking about those passing pressure numbers early in the quarterback. John Rice Plumey, University of Central Florida. Just up the road from me here. I'm in Southwest Florida. First in passing pressure when blitzed, 90.6 grade, tied with Bo Nix. 40.6 drop back pressure compared to Nix's 27.1. That means this dude was running for his life or always under pressure, and he delivered. He was under pressure almost double the rate of Bo Nix and still put up the same pressure grade. That's got a lot to say right there. First in big time throw percentages when blitzed, and third in average depth of throw when blitzed. A lot of that is credit to Javon Baker, the wide receiver of Florida, which, big fan of him. I think he's might be rated too high on PFF to be on our special, but or he was just on that border. Tied with Drake May, 9th in big throw percentage under pressure. So again, he's kind of showing you numbers like these big guys. 6th overall in big throw percentages. John Rice Plumia might be one of those guys that can. We saw Aiden O'Connell develop for the Oakland Raiders a little bit last year. Purdue player that threw with a lot of air under the ball. Just saying. Oh, yeah. CarCast says there's also Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah, he's going to go super high. I know the Ravens have met with Troy Franklin, the wide receiver out of Oregon. A Louisville guy. Lamar's alma mater. Jack Plummer, 2nd in passes dropped when blitz, 9th in overall passes dropped. That, of course, equated to a 6th in adjusted accuracy, 3rd with 15% minimum. 12 interceptions, though. That's a high. It's tied for 2nd most with a 64% completion percentage. Tell me, though, that face don't look a little bit like Aaron Rodgers. Maybe it's just blurred. Maybe it's me. But a lot of these teams, like case in point, Giants, like these guys with adjusted percentage numbers. And got to cut the turnovers out, but I don't know. Quarterbacks, there's only one guy, I should say two, and that's UCF and Troy. Oh, the one I'm really excited for. I'm trying to keep this moving. Running backs. Now, most of these are going to be based upon the 50% minimum attempt. I'm looking for bell cows here. I don't want no injury guys, which, of course, there's going to be some. We're going to start with some honorable mentions, too, because I want to make this known. There's no true number one back, according to a lot of people in this draft. Jonathan Brooks is rated by a lot of people. A lot of people would argue Blake Corum. There's a lot of good running backs. And I am ecstatic because I think there are going to be so many good young running backs that come into the league this year that are probably going to be drafted 3rd to 5th round. So we're going to give some honorable mentions real quick, like Frank Gore Jr., Blake Corum, Bucky Irving, Cody Schrader, Marshawn Lloyd, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Guerrero. Guerrero is going to be one of the best receiving backs in this draft, but a lot of these guys are kind of higher on the board. You know what I'm saying? Bucky Irving out of Oregon's a great guy. Cody Schrader lit up the Senior Bowl, running back out of Missouri. Frank Gore Jr., absolutely dynamic. He's a spitting image of his father. And Marshawn Lloyd actually has one of the highest elusive rates in this draft class. Like I said, I think there are going to be so many teams that walk away happy with running back this year. Derby says, you think the Colts might snag Blake Corum at 15? Nah. So, of course, the Colts extended Jonathan Taylor But they actually drafted last year, 4th round, one of my guys. His name was Evan Hull, the running back out of Northwestern. We featured him on our draft special. Colts fans, from my understanding, were pretty excited about the young man. I had a bet with one of my fantasy football guys if he would beat out the veteran, had him on the roster, and he did. They traded him to the Cleveland Browns. But however, he actually had a knee injury, if I'm not mistaken. So he ended up missing time, and during that time missed, of course, they extended Jonathan Taylor. So they've got RB1. They've got a really good young RB2. Maybe a guy that adds a little more special teams. I mean, Blake Corum could, of course, play special teams, but I feel like they could get better value at that pick for another position weight-wise. You feel me? Yeah, Evan Hull was one of my guys. I was so excited for Evan Hull. 4.5 speed, 230 halfback, basically. I really thought he had that bell cow potential. That knee injury hurt me deep, man. I actually drafted him so much higher than my fantasy football league than I should have, just as like a sign of faith for him. But real quick, I want to talk about two things before we get into the running backs. I want to talk about the leaders in zone running attempts and gap running attempts. The reason we talk about that is because, of course, if your team runs, actually, I have the notes here. So, top 5 running gap teams in the NFL last year: Jacksonville, Buffalo, Los Angeles Rams, Cincinnati Bengals, and Detroit Lions. So, of course, if you're looking for a gap running back, Blake Corum, Dylan Johnson, Ray Davis, Audric Estime, and Kamani Vidal. Of course, everyone knows the zone leader for the NFL last year was the San Francisco 49ers, followed by Tampa, Philadelphia, Tennessee, and Kansas City. So if you're looking for a zone guy, Cody Schrader. Kamani Vidal just did it all, by the way. Blake Watson, Anthony Watkins, Frank Gore Jr. I know the 49ers are eyeing that super hard. Another stat I like to keep track of, MTF, that is missed tackles forced. So the leaders in missed tackle force: Kamani Vidal, RJ Harvey, Imani Bailey, Bucky Irving, and Frank Gore Jr. And then, of course, that elusive rating with the leaders basically being Bucky Irving, Jonathan Brooks, Kyrie Robinson, Audric Estime, and RJ Harvey. Marshawn Lloyd was first if the minimum was moved down to 20%. And then, of course, a guy we're going to talk about a little bit in this draft special, like some of these other guys, Isaiah Davis, running back out of South Dakota State, I believe, leads the FCS. But you heard his name a lot. We talked about his teammate Gunnar Watson a little bit. 5'8", 213, ran a 4.4 640, tied for 6th in the 10-yard split. He's second overall running grade, ran for 1,600 yards last year. He leads the categories in missed tackle force with 94. The next highest behind him has 74. He's also first in yards of 10-plus yards. His zone gap split is 170 zone, 120 gap. Very versed in both types of running schemes. He's first in yards after contact with 1,056, despite his yard contact average being 12th. So doesn't have like a ton of those breakaway plays, but constantly fights for yards. Also, big plus side, he's tied for second in pass blocking of these running back class. So, Azo, what up? You hatched. You did hatch. So, Kamani Vidal is going to be one of my star guys that, I think a team's going to be ecstatic when they make this pick somewhere in the draft. One of my small FCS guys, Jaden Sheridan. Just saw the guy running and something it was one of those gut feelings. 5'8", 187, 4.45, third in the 10-yard split. So has the breakaway speed, has the short speed. One of the highest trending running backs since April 6th. So here's the thing. Jaden Sherman out of Monmouth was going to be one of my draft steals. He felt like my Keaton Mitchell from last year, if you didn't watch my draft special. He was averaging his pick up until 20 days ago. Average pick was 251. His now average pick is 166. I don't know who else did a special on him? But he is trending so hard right now in the right direction. I'm very happy for this young man. 7th overall in FCF grades, 5th in the run game, 6th in yards after contact average, 9th in missed tackles force, and 4th in 10-plus yard runs. Zone gap, 116 to 97, so pretty even. 13th in elusive rating. So the numbers don't scream anything to you here. But this was just more of a gut feeling and watching him go through the drills, how fluid he looked, the speed, and his ability to catch the ball. Now here's I gotta stop saying here's a guy. Here's a guy. Ray Davis, running back out of Kentucky. There's not many guys in this draft class that have rushed for 1,000 or gained 1,000 yards for 3 different college teams. 5'8", 211, 4.52. Now, let me tell you something about 40 speed. For me, depending on your position, of course, but guys like wide receiver, running backs, corners, I have a cutoff usually of about 4.57. That's usually, for me, about where I feel like you might. But of course, there are always exceptions to that rule. Always. Because, everyone built different. It's just as simple as that. 10th overall on PFF's grade list. Tied for 6th in pure run grade. 6th in yards per contact average. For his size, he, again, looked very smooth running. Now, here's one of the guys you saw on our running back notes. Imani Bailey, running back out of TCU. Everyone knows TCU was not that good last year. Despite that, this man put in some work. 5'7", 202, 4.61. So, does he have that breakaway speed? Might not. 12th overall, 11th in the running category, 9th in yards per contact average, but 3rd in missed tackles, 4th, and 5th in 10-plus yard runs. Well, definitely about a good snap, 40 yards more zone than gap. So more zone runner than gap. But just with that TCU team, I feel like this kid put in some serious work. And again, just how he looked in drills. Another draft steal. Isaiah Davis, the South Dakota Jackrabbits. 6 foot, 218, 4.57, 40. I'm sorry. Put up 23 reps on the bench press. 1st in FCS rushing grade, 1st in total offensive grade. A 6'1" guy, basically, with 4.5 speed. 1st in missed tackle force with 80. And the next highest was 58. 1st in yards per contact average, usually gaining 3.97. And 1st in runs of 10-plus yards. Primarily gap-style runner, 148 gap snaps to 87. I'm sorry. I wonder if I split the numbers. Might be zone, but sorry if I did a typo there. All right, bear with me, guys. There's a lot of running backs I like. Audric Estime, another guy that I'm going to break my 40 rule on. 5'11", 221, ran a 4.71 at the combine, cleaned it up at his pro day to a 4.58. Another guy that put up 23 on the bench press. 1st overall and run grade on PFF, 2nd yard contact average, 2nd overall. The 4.7 scared a lot of people at the combine. But despite his 220 size and supposed lack of speed, had 64 missed tackles forced last year. Ran more gap than zone. So one of those gap guys, and above a 72.0 receiving grade as well. Not a guy you'd really talk about in the receiving game, but shows in the grades that he can do it. Sweet tea is so good. I was listening in to some former player, and they were talking about this young man. And they said, I'm going to tell you something. When I watched him, and I was sitting there watching the tape, I thought to myself, his running style looks familiar. Now, mind you, it's not me. This is some other NFL player. And he said, you know, he kind of looked like, oh, of course, now the name. Oh, it wasn't Jerome Bettis. Who was it? Maybe it was. But he compared, I believe it was Jerome. And he basically said, here's the thing, though. It's going to really depend on what system he goes to. I want to double check now, make sure I don't mess this up. Comparison, I'm pretty sure it was Jerome Bettis. But now I'm double checking myself. Yep. But he said it's really going to depend on where the system he's in. If he's in the wrong system, it's just not going to work. He will look bad. And my last and final running back of this class, another 5'10", 206, 4'5", 40s. Really funny that they all tied for fifth on the bench press with 23, fifth in the 10-yard split. He's third in the FCS overall, ninth in the run game. But there's the reason, how he's going to make his money in the NFL. He's first in receiving grades in the FCS with a 90.5. Had 68 receptions. That's first as well. The next highest behind him was 43. To put that in comparison, Bucky Irving is the leading reception of the FBS running backs with 55. So he pulled in 13 more receptions than Bucky Irving did. He also took 48 snaps in the slot. So has maybe that potential to be a guy you can move around. Average depth of target on his passes was 1.8 yards. His average yards on those was 10.4 yards. So he really showed his ability to take the ball and go. First in missed tackles forced in his receptions with 23. He's also got return game potential. He leads third in return grades in the FCS, seventh in attempts, including a 100-yard touchdown he took to the house. 91 zone to 69 gap, so more of a zone style runner. But if you're looking for a running back that can give you a receiving threat as well as maybe some returning ability, Dylan Lobb's got to be on your draft board. I'm telling you guys, I've been beating the table on this kid for a long time. All right, moving on. The tight end class, let me make a statement first. I am not as excited of the tight end class as I was last year. Last year, I knew there were going to be some serious steals. Case in point, like Sam Laporta, we knew was going to be a third-round pick. And he was one of the guys we talked about on last year's draft special. We're like, of course, but it's one of those ones at the same time everybody knows. Like, everybody knows he's got that potential. Like, case in point, that's why we don't cover guys like Frank Gore, Blake Corum, But all right, let's start with the first guy. Might be the highest rated on the board. Ben Sinnott, Kansas State tight end. Third overall tight end, second in receiving grades, seventh in average depth of target, second in second in contested targets with 6 in contested catches. He also holds up with the second in run blocks with 390, so he's got a lot of experience with his blocks. Zone gap split 107 zone to 265 gap, so more of a gap style blocker. Or I'm sorry, ran more gap but graded out better in his zone. Third in missed tackles forced and fourth in yards per route run. So the guy can run on all the levels. He can make guys miss, and he can make contested catches. I forgot to put up their 40 times and all of that, but really wasn't a lot of guys that ran sub for me. So tight ends, the bar moves up to like a 4.7, 4.8 range essentially, which of course then kind of corresponds with maybe safeties, especially taller ones. Theo Johnson, I didn't even put anything on him. It's as simple as this. He went to the combine. He tested out of the water. He's a Nittany Lion. Has all the measurables. Showed it. You know, there was a lot of guys like I had that last year, and they're doing pretty good for themselves. So AJ Barner, second overall grades, but 17th in receiving. That's because he's second in run blocking. If you're a team looking for a good tight end that's going to be a solid number 2 blocking tight end that maybe could develop into a number 1 guy, this is your guy late, guys. Interesting part about him out there in Michigan, 5th in the wide snap percentages. That also tells me they were using him out there probably in stacked formations and running him as a run blocker maybe for a screen or, something else. So I'm going to take a guess here. Has good skills at blocking in space. He's one of 2 guys in this draft class with an 80+ run block grade. So if you're looking for someone that's got some run, a good overall tight end, there's not a lot of guys. He also had 350 run block snaps compared to 95 of the first place guy. So despite being in second in run blocking grades, he blocked basically, what's that? 4 times almost as much as the next guy. His zone gap split is 111 zone, 222 gap. Pretty even grades on both styles. So again, but he had a slight edge in the gap. So the dude can lay the wood. You feel me? He looks like a built man right there in that picture. That's for sure. So we're going to go to an FCS guy here. Cam Grandy. And I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Illinois State. Second overall in the FCS, first in receivings. He's first in targets, first in receptions, 214 snaps in the slot. He's tied for third in contested catches and number 1 in missed tackles forced. And you might think, oh, he's probably like a little tiny guy, right? If I remember correctly, and I'm sorry I forgot to put it up for my tight ends. If I remember correctly, he's 6'6", 260. Of course, did not get a combine invite. I got a feeling this is, again, I don't think he's available on PFF's mock drafts either. So, might not even get his name called. But I got a feeling someone's going to call his name on draft day. And he might be your Zach Kuntz, kind of. You know what I'm saying? Like for the Green Bay Packers. Cade Stover, of course, making this list a little late. Not really impressed with this draft class. You're going to see also Dallin Hooker, honorable mention. But I don't know, man. I like him and I don't. Cade Stover, 4th overall in grading, 3rd in receiving, 7th in missed tackles forced, 6th in contested targets, 4th in contested catches. He's one of 11 tight ends in this class with 0 drops. If you're looking for a sure-handed guy, Cade Stover's probably going to be able to provide that for you. Also 3rd in yards per route run. So can probably stretch the field a little bit with his route running. BRB, 1 sec. Apologize about that, guys. I've been getting over a sickness as well on top of everything. So, wide receivers, some honorable mentions real quick. We got Joshua Cephas, UTEP kid, one of the surest hands in this draft. Good size, 6'3", a little light on the side, like 180-ish, 185 if I'm not mistaken. Of course, Javon Baker, a huge guy, like 6'7", was the deep ball contested catch guy for Plumie over at UCF. However, there's a lot of concern about if he can gain separation. Of course, Luke McCaffrey looked great, tested well, good scores. However, he's one of those guys that I feel like his name's been popping up so much that I'm not going to cover him. Brendan Rice, also, I really think he's going to be a great receiver. Taj Washington got great hands, deep guy there over there in USC. And Johnny Wilson, of course, also out of FSU. But these are all guys, again, might be a little too high on the board. And I want to look deeper. So this is going to be one of my guys that there's not a lot on. There's not any numbers that's going to tell you. This is a guy that I just watched and I got interested. 6'3", 213, Jalen Coker out of Holy Cross. 4.5740, first in vertical jump, fourth in the 10-yard split. Doesn't have that eye-popping speed, but just watching him and adjust and listen to coaching and run some of his routes caught my eye. And I got a feeling he's going to be one of the sleepers here in this draft. A guy that screams across the board, every number. I think you are absolutely like he's got right there. Someone's going to be calling him. Probably not tomorrow, but I could see it going early on day 3. I mean, round 3. I think PFF's got him rated too low. I think this dude's a dog. 5'8", 194, 447 speed. Malik Washington out of Virginia. Second also in the vert. Second overall PFF grade and receiving grade. Tied for the third best drop rate. He's first in receptions at 111 receptions. Sixth in slot snaps and yards per route run. First in missed tackles. Seventh best drop rate if you put it up to 50. I think he's also got special teams potential. He's just a beast, man. Like, what else can I say? And I just think his draft grades are too low. Now, Jacob Cowing is a guy that I like, but I have so many concerns on, and it's all related to his weight. 5'8", 168. I think he might have got it up to 175. 4.38 speed, but the dude is a target monster. He has been over there in Arizona eating up everything that ain't air. You feel me? Doesn't have all the fancy grades, but I pulled a scout's little note here, I believe from PFF, and I'm just gonna read it for you. Cowing has played a lot of football in his college career with over 3,000 snaps in his 5-year college career. He has been a big volume receiver at UTEP and Arizona. His threat rate has not been below 25% for any season, and he had 2 seasons above 30%, showcasing how much offenses want to get him the ball. He will truly be an outlier in his size, likely below the 5th percentile in both height and weight. But the bottom line is he can win at the position. again, maybe he's got special teams value now that they're not as big of hits coming. Um, but the dude was a separation monster in college. And sometimes that shit translates. You know what I'm saying? And we are seeing a trend in the NFL of players getting smaller and faster. Next Gen Stats did a whole thing about it. This was one of the big concerns about Emmanuel Forbes, the cornerback to the Washington Commanders last year. Um, Only time will tell, right? Anais Smith, 5'10", 200-pound wide receiver out of Texas A&M. A guy that wasn't on my radar until I just started watching. I caught some clips of him, and I started watching more of him. Strong dude, 21 on the bench press, third for the best drop rate with a 50%, 16th overall returner, 7th total return attempts, 11th in punt, 6th highest yard per turn average, including a 76-yard touchdown. He's also third in punt return yards, only behind Xavier Worthy and oddly Keon Coleman, which I didn't actually know that Keon did punt return duties. I like Keon even more now. Can we talk about Keon Coleman's slide down draft boards too? I've seen him on like some in the third round now. I would be ecstatic to catch a Keon Coleman in the third. I'd use a early or a late second on him even. But again, a lot of these wide receivers and running backs are going to offer you potentially good special teams play. Dude plays strong. He plays like a big man, like a 6-foot receiver. You feel me? Anthony Gold, another guy, not going to have a lot of stuff on PFF. 5'8", 174, 4.39 split, first in the 10-yard split. Again, Oregon State Beaver going to give you really good special teams. I'm excited about this guy now. Jaquan Jackson, 5'9", 188, 4'4", 240. 9th overall returner, tied for 7th in punt returning. I'm going to be honest. When I saw him at the combine, I was like, why is there a running back doing wide receiver drills? That's just how he's built. That 5'9", 188 is a compact 5'9", 188. You feel me? When I found out he ran, so when I saw him going through the gauntlet drill, I was like, I mean, that's solid. That looks really just fluid in a sense. I was like, but he's got to run slow. Like, looking at his build, he's got to run slow. And then he came out there and put out a 4.42. And I was like, wow. Okay, so he does have a little bit of breakaway speed. One of those guys that just caught my eye going through the gauntlet. You don't see him on a lot of draft boards right now. But I think, again, a lot of these guys are going to have special teams value. It's how you got to make your way into the NFL sometimes. And I think the wide receiver out of Tulane is going to be one of those guys. And our final wide receiver before we move into the offensive line, Ryan Flournoy. 6'1", 201 receiver, 4'4", 440. 4th in the broad jump, 2nd in the bench with 19. So, we apparently lack some strong guys here on the channel with Smith and Flournoy. He might take some time to develop. But another guy that looked really good in our drills. Get all those up again. Double checking some of my notes on these guys. By the way, Jason McMillan looked really good as well. Cannot sleep on him. Got to give him an honorable mention as well. Did not get to see the second day of the receivers. And so that's one of those ones like I was so mad about NFL.com not having. Neighbors, Dunze, Pearsall, Polk, Rice, Robinson, Rosemary, Jack, Smith, Thomas, Thrash, Veal, Walker, Washington, Weaver, Whittington, Williams, Wilson, Worthy are the guys that I technically missed. a little upset about it. All right, on to our tackles, though. We're almost done, guys. Bear with me. Again, focusing on guys that are not going to be in those top 2 rounds. Patrick Paul, the 6'7", 320 tackle out of the University of Houston. Tied for 3rd in bench with 30. 1st in pass blocking on PFF. 7th overall. 1 sack, 1 hit, and 7 hurries. 6th best pressure rating, only allowing 9. Had 777 snaps at left tackle this past season. So maybe that's that's his lucky sign, you know. And his blocking grades graded better in zone schemes than gap schemes. But the highlight, of course, Patrick Paul's play set is his pass blocking. Played against a couple good guys this year. But he's usually there in the 3rd round, and I think this is going to be like a Tyler Steen situation. Someone's going to be ecstatic. Dominic Puny, 6'5", 320. This, I don't know if he's going to transition to interior. 3rd in the 20-yard shuttle, 3rd in pass blocking, 0 sacks, 0 hits allowed with 8 hurries. 5th best in pressures with 8. He's kind of up there a little bit. 728 snaps at left tackle. Again, he's one of our few guys, though, that actually graded out better in gap schemes than zones. So, again, if you're a gap team, Dominic Puny in a 3rd or 4th round could be an absolute steal for your team. And I feel like I've heard some rumors about kicking him inside potentially. And if that's true, dude, the dude will probably excel so much more, but I'm not positive on that. Let me double check something here. I believe he's played in multiple positions. I told myself I'd memorized all my facts, and of course now my brain is just shutting down. Yeah, played 848 snaps at left guard. Apparently did not play as well, but that was in the previous year. So it's either he grew that much or he plays better on the outside. Christian Jones is going to be one of our few right tackles here on the list. 6'6", 320. Got different numbers here. 6'6", 321 or 6'5", 305, somewhere in that range. You know how it goes. 12th in run blocking. This Texas offensive line was pretty damn strong from my understanding. A lot of the holes I saw for Jonathan Brooks this year were gaping holes. However, from my understanding, though, the strength of this line was on the left side, and actually the worst rated person on the line was the right guard. So he didn't, have the all-star talent beside him as much as his teammates. 1 sack, 2 hits, 8 pressures, 9th best pressure rate, 6th most snaps at right tackle among the class. Graded out better zone than gap. But if you're hunting for a right tackle in this class, he can definitely deliver. Played a little bit of left tackle his freshman year in 2021, but his best games of the season came basically against Iowa State, but he had a great game against Alabama with a 71.9. Austin Booker's team, KU, Baylor, Oklahoma. He played against some really good competition this year and had some pretty damn good games. Man, sometimes some of these tackles that get down on these boards, I'm just like scratching my head in a sense. Javon Foster, a career left tackle over there in Missouri. 3rd overall tackle grade, 4th in run blocking. 1 sack, 0 hits with 12 hurries. So got to clean up with those hurries a little bit. 5th most snaps at left tackle in this class at 880 or 898. Again, better zone than gap, which is what you're going to see more often than not. A huge difference in those scores, though. Of course, didn't quite have the high level of play against some of the elite teams, Georgia, LSU. So it's definitely going to probably need to develop a little more technique, but definitely shows the potential. Could be a potential starter on a team somewhere. And I believe the last guy we're going to feature, we were searching hard because there's a lot of elite level tackles in this draft, but once you get below a certain tier, like that third round tier, I believe the tackle depth is going to drop significantly. Jalen Sundell's going to be on this list, who's listed as a tackle, but a lot of teams have him considered moving inside to guard. So, but Delmar Glaze, 6'6", 329, he's not going to have all those huge numbers. 29 bench rep, ninth in pass blocking, very subpar run blocking. Scout notes basically said he doesn't have that mean streak. And I believe in his problem with pass blocking is his problem with lateral agility. Seemed like maybe more of those speed guys were giving him issues. Had a pretty solid grade evenly between gap and zone. And he's played both tackle positions. So this is a player that, he's probably not going to come in and start this year. But in maybe a year best, probably closer to 2 maybe years, this guy could probably be a really key rotational offensive lineman for you. Maybe he can get that mean streak in the NFL and, live up to it. But if you're looking with it for a guy that can come in and be a backup, and protect your quarterback at a decent level, he's probably going to be able to do that. In the NFL, if you've got a backup left tackle in the game and you're not already sending over a halfback or a tight end to help him out, if he's, playing against an elite pass rusher, you need to get fired and get out of the NFL. So this guy could probably be a backup guy and maybe he can clean it up and get to a starter level somewhere. But we'll be looking out for the former Terrapin. Now, interior offensive line, there's going to be some good players here. So Cooper Beebe going to be the highest one rated on most boards, probably going in the third round. Would not be surprised to see him go in the second. 6'3", 322 guards, second overall in this class, third in pass protection, seventh in run. Slightly better zone grade than gap, but dude's an animal. He is going to eat you. He's one of the few lone stars here this class for Kansas State. We predicted some really good guards last year, and I think he's going to continue that for us. Another absolute just monster in the hole, Mason McCormick, 6'5", 315, second in the broad jump, fourth in the 20-yard shuttle. He's the first overall guard in FCS, graded out first in run and tied for fourth in passing. Did better at zone than gap out there. But, he was out there blocking for our guy Isaiah Davis, who was on our draft special earlier, and might have been a big reason for his success. McCormick's going to be a guy that's just going to knock someone's block off. You feel me? Whatever team scoops this guy up is going to be ecstatic. Now, Tanner Bordolini doesn't have the best grades. You can see, though, he's got wonderful hair. Hey, what up, Chimera? What teams are most in need of O-line? Oh, man, there's quite a few teams. I actually haven't put together my draft sheet yet with all that. I'm working on that. I'm so far behind on everything right now. But Bordolini, not going to have the best grades. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at his grades, they're not going to scream at you. 6'4", 303, first in the 20-yard shuttle and 3-yard cone, though. honestly might show some potential as a pulling guard. Second in the 10-yard split. He played right tackle, left guard, and center. His best grades came in 9 games at right tackle, actually. Better in gap than zone, so he's one of our few guys that grades higher in a gap scheme, which, by the way, if you're looking for gap linemen, Buffalo, Dalvin Cook ran the second most gap-style runs in the league last year, so this could be one of your guys, Chimera. An intelligent young man playing all those positions. Like I said, I think he played center this past year. I think he'll play better as a guard or tackle. Look good moving at the combine, too. Looks just fluid. Bukes Limmer. There's a 6'5", 302 some bitch. You feel me? Nah. First in the bench press, 39. So just monster, man. 11th overall center, third in the run game, though. Very low passing grades. So got to get that fixed some way or another. Maybe there was something else going out there in Arkansas. I'm not a huge fan of the Arkansas team, like playing-wise. Chimera says, as long as we take a wide receiver first round, who's your wide receiver, man? Who you think the Bills are going to take there? 3 sacks, 0 hits, 9 hurries with 12 pressures. He's played center and right guard with better grades at guard. So maybe, just maybe, since he's such a good run blocker, you move Bukes Limmer over to a guard and let him play. Had a 74.5 grade as a center and had 82.2 and 76.8 grades at right guard in 2021 and 2022. So he just started playing center in 2023. So this is a guy that, even though he's rated as a center, might move over to a guard in the NFL. And again, he was third in run blocking as a center in the NFL or PFF college. And here's one of the beautiful things where we're like, maybe. His best 2 run games, or like grade-wise, were against LSU and Bama. So he played well against good competition. And he's, again, one of these guys that's better gap graded than zone grade. So if you're looking for a 6'5" guy that can bench like 225 40 times and's known as a good run blocker versus LSU and Bama, here's your guy. And if your team gets him and they love him, think of me. Chimera says, if we don't fire Brandon Beane. Oof. I know, dude. The Von Miller, I cannot get over the Von Miller contract. I'm sorry. For how much he put out last year. I wanted Von Miller. I did never sign that deal. So again, Jalen Sundell listed as a tackle on a lot of boards. A lot of teams are thinking about moving him inside at 301. Threw up 26 on the bench press, though. 3rd overall in FCS, 1st in pass protection, 4th in run. 1 sack, 0 hits, and 8 hurries. Tied for 4th best in pressures with 9. Pretty even grades across the board. You know, these North Dakota State Bison, they've been putting out players for a while. Honestly, his other tackle had really good grades too, and I thought was going to come out this year. It actually stayed and going back again for 1 more year. Chimera says probably A.D. Mitchell, whoever's available by pick 28. I know, man. I'm so hot and cold on Mitchell, honestly. Like, the plays and his everything about him just like, screams number 1. And then I watch some of the bad drops. Or, like, even at the combine, man, he was not having a great day at the combine. Like, had some really bad concentration drops. Scared me a little bit, to be honest with you. Definitely could see why he was not up there with, like, Neighbors and all of them. I think the mystery for me, Chimera, like I said, has been Keon Coleman falling down draft boards. But all right, Jalen Sundell, we're going to cast him as an interior offensive lineman next level. I think will be great. All right, we're down to our last 2 interior offensive linemen. Here's a guy, part of this Miami team that I'm like, what happened? You know, Matt Lee, the 6'4", 295 center from the University of Miami. 3rd in pass, 13th in run, which, I mean, a lot of teams like that. You can protect your quarterback. I prefer, of course, a guy that can run. But a career center, 705 snaps in 2021, 1,059 snaps in 2022, and 792. Had his best year in the 1,000 snap season, 82.5. So a career center that's never had an overall grade under 75. Started 12 games or more every season. Has not allowed a sack in 2 straight seasons. I am so confused how he is so far down on so many boards. I know he had some bad games. But if you can clean it up and maybe add a little bit, like 5 pounds of weight, I think you've got a potential starting center. Good zone grade. Like, I don't know. I'm confused on this one, guys. He is rated as PFF's dead last center. PFF rank 310, meaning he might not get drafted. Played at UCF, played it at Miami. Like I said, I'm just like confused, man. What up, Steve-O? And our final and last interior offensive lineman, another FCS guy, Donnie Ventrelli. You can see right there, he got dude man up. 6'4", 300-pound guard, 2nd overall in the FCS class, 2nd in running, 13th in pass. So a guy that's a developmental project guard that might be able to make it in the NFL and seems to have a nasty, nose for the ball. This is another guy that's not going to be on PFF's mock draft, but if I wonder maybe if I don't have it up, maybe. I haven't opened up Stream Manager in a while. But, yeah, that is our final interior offensive lineman. And maybe draft. Let's see. What's a good mock draft engine, guys? I'll do one mock draft before I get off. NFL mock draft database. NFL mock draft. Guess we'll just do PFFs. I wanted to do more trades. Baltimore, less random. Public versus PFF. We'll do a 50-50, a little more for positional value. Baltimore, 7 rounds. Let's see here, I gotta do some trimming. Let's see. second. I'm going to cut to try to make it larger. Booyah. Another 50 on there. And another 50 value there. And now we have a mock draft simulator. Chimera says, I do think the Bills should trade up, though. We need a top receiver after the Diggs trade. Man, it really depends on value. This is a deep wide receiver class. This entire class just has speed. On top of this class also already having a large amount of true X-style number one wide receivers. There's a lot of guys that could replace Gabe Davis style as well. But, you know, like we covered earlier on the draft special, there's a lot of guys for that, that have speed. Ooh. And I don't know if y'all have seen this, but there's been some talk about or quarterbacks starting to fall. So right here, they have Drake May going 2 and then Jaden Daniels falling to 11. I've seen in a lot of mock drafts that Drake May is falling down to 11 at the Minnesota Vikings. And I would not be surprised about that. I've seen J.J. McCarthy going early now as well. Some people are getting out of hand, and then they're trading up to like inside the top 20 for Penix and Bo Nix. I just don't see that happening. While I do like Penix. Oh, excuse me. All right, Baltimore on the clock, pick 30. We got the best safety on the draft. McConkey is going to be an animal. Sanders still is an animal. I think the Ravens would have loved to have gotten a player here that they valued more. But with Penix on the board still, is there a team looking for a quarterback? I think New England is. Yeah, with that, I'm going to make that trade to New England because I know I can get that done probably. New England, 34 for 30. We'll get 103 probably for that. Yeah, give me 68. I would love to have 68. Yeah, I figured that would happen. I'll just take 103 and call it a day. They're going to come up. I'm getting almost guaranteed that Michael Penix comes off board there. Oh, Bo Nix does. Ooh. Ravens are on the clock, and Michael Penix is still there. Ooh. Who wants him? Who wants their quarterback? I'm going to call my boy Joe Stevens up. That's who I'm calling up. Seattle. Oh, Seattle doesn't have their pick till 81. Can't get the deal done. Sorry. Hey, what up, Kenny? I know Bo Nix going to the Patriots. Really thought that was going to be Michael Penix's. Who else? Washington already got their quarterback. They don't need a quarterback. Tennessee's got one. Who needs a quarterback? Man, the Falcons could come up and get a guy to sit behind Cousins. Do the Saints have a quarterback yet? They don't. Ooh, we're calling the Saints up. At pick 45. Let's make this happen. Ooh, you really don't have enough capital. Man, the Saints don't have enough capital for me, in my opinion, either. That's rough. Are the Giants going to do it? The Giants didn't take one. Let's see if we can do a deal with the Giants. Oh, yeah. Let me pick 70. I'll give you pick 103. Let's call it a trade. No, pick 113. Let's see if they take it. Yeah! Let's go. I'm waiting a long time to make a pick. Let's see who I lost out on here in the second round. Peyton Wilson. Of course, Michael Penix went off the board to the Giants, just like we predicted. Chop Robinson, Newbum. Man, oh, God, some really good players coming off the board there. Oh, that one hurt a little bit. All right, Ravens are on the clock with pick 47. They could take the Yale tackle. Gosh, ooh, Darius Robinson's here on the board. That's really tempting. I do like Marshawn Nealon as well. He looked really good. Jonah Ellis has got really good grades. He's one of the guys that was just too high on my draft special to be featured. This is tough, man. Lesson learned here, I feel like I lost out on my truly elite players that I were looking for. I definitely, like with Keon going right there, I moved to tier 3. I guess this is where I take the South Carolina boy off the board. Xavier Legette. We'll take our first wide receiver. Chimera says, what website is this? I want to mess around with it. This is a PFF's mock draft simulator, so Pro Football Focus mock draft simulator. So Baltimore back on the clock here at 62 with their second pick. Ooh. Let's see. So after we picked. Yeah, a lot. Man, TJ Tampa would have been a really good pick too. Darius and Robinson would have been good picks here. Man, Christian Haynes is a really good player. I just feel like I don't need him. I think this is where we're going to take Max Melton off the board a little early, potentially. Like, I really like this kid, but I am a little worried about it. I just feel like he needs to be a third-round pick. But everyone's going to take him super high. Javon Baker's sitting there. Yeah, it's going to be a little too high. But looking at the cornerback depth, I mean, I like Renardo Green, but Max Melton showed up at the combine. It's the question, do I trust the combine or do I trust... Renardo Green's one of the highest man grade corners in this draft, and it, like right there, I've got 3 guys, 4 guys I like, 5 guys I like. So I don't need to use this pick on corner. God, I lost out on guys. Too many guys trading down. I needed to stay in this range. So let me see. I need to stay probably within 43. I can't get underneath the Cardinals, Packers. Because I'll be honest, the picks I like here in the second round, Sainristil, Fisk, Coleman, Rakestraw. Honestly, Pearsall's a good pick. Bullard I kind of liked. You can definitely see it's going a little higher. Melton is better, but is Green safety in the NFL? Green, see, the reason I think Green can make it as a corner, Renardo, is he actually, if I remember correctly, has the most amount of snaps in man coverage in this entire class. He also graded out really well on it as well. So if you're looking for a solid man-to-man corner that's aggressive at the line, this is going to be your guy. But I'll be honest, my guys that I have on my draft special, Renardo Green, Chris Abrams-Drain, Brownlee Jr., Sean Smith-Wade, DJ James, Cam Hart, Kamal Haddon. I think this around basically 89 to 150, 170. So what is that? That's mid third round to like the fifth round, basically. Third to fifth round, there are some really good corners and tackles. You know what? Do I go? Hold on. Do I do this? Do I go way too early here? I'm on pick 62. I know I'm about to be unrealistic. Nah, I just need to draft a player and call it a day. I do like Orahoro, but he's not enough of an edge guy. You know what? We're going to just take Marshawn Nealon there. It's a solid pick. Oh yeah, he does hit hard though. He levels people. I one of the hits I saw, he came flying down. Blake Fisher is not a bad player, but not gonna be what I'm really looking for, I feel like. Here on the clock at 70, now I'm probably taking my tackle. Let's see. Junior Colson would be a really solid pick right here. But like they said, he's more of a 4-3 guy. Ooh. There's some good safeties here too. Yeah. I like Cameron Kitchens too. If I remember, this is one of the true deep safeties. Looks like I already lost my Georgia guy. Wonder when he came off the board. Where's the other one? I swear there's another safety from Georgia, or am I tripping? Moving. Yeah, Javon Bullard from Georgia. One of the other true deep safety guys. That's right. I really like Javon Bullard too. Kalen Bullock's pretty good, but like it shows, he is an absolute liability in run. This is one of those ones I keep getting in situations where my boards don't line up, and I need to make my pick probably early. Ooh. So many good players. Problem is, I also just looked at all of these players. Blake Fisher and Christian Jones are my last offensive tackles. Yeah, Blake Fisher's not bad. What up, No Border? What up, everybody? Oh man, there's just so many good players on this board. Like, I already took a wide receiver, is my problem, and I already took an edge. I need corner, but it's too early for my corners, especially considering I have pick 70. You know what? I'm gonna do something crazy. I want a future second, or if I get a future second, and they won't give me a future second for that. That's crazy. I'm just gonna get rid of this pick. Go have fun. Pick up a future first rounder, right? Oh man. Here's a bunch of good guys. Mason McCormick, Javon Solomon, Malik Washington. Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, doo-doo. Let's see. Did my tackles go off the board? Oh, see, I should have taken my tackles. I knew I should have. He got taken 12 picks ahead of his predicted position. Interesting. Very interesting. Well, in that case, I'm not fucking around. I'm going to go ahead and get my guy, Christian Jones, off the board. We're going to keep this gravy train rolling. We're taking Cameron Kitchens off at 103. I definitely could have taken Michael Hall Jr. He went right after. Ooh, again, really good picks here. Brownlee Jr., Wingo, Estime, Bordolini, who's going to be a guard in the NFL. Oh, man. And see, this is why, I want to load up on picks in this draft. Well, I got my new Gus Edwards there in Estime. I'm happy with that pick in round 4. Oh, I know. If you weren't here for my draft special just a moment ago. Oh, get it up. I'll say yes, since y'all weren't here. Ooh, there's my boy, Jaden Sheridan. We talked about on my draft special. Jaden Sheridan has risen like 100 draft spots on average in the last like 20 days. If I didn't already have a guy, oh, absolutely would take him. Javon Foster sitting there, absolutely. That's my next pick. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be streaming the draft every single day. So yeah, for you, quick rundown here. If you weren't here for the draft special, uh, we got worries about Caleb Williams due to his turnover-worthy play rate. Quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler, don't care about him. Devin Leary, meh. Our hero of the draft and our potential, Brock Purdy, Tyson Bagent, Gunnar Watson. I guess I need to hold on. So Gunnar Watson's going to be the star of our draft here. I think he's got so much potential. John Rice Plumee out of University of Central Florida and Jack Plummer out of Louisville. Running backs, we got a lot of guys we love in this draft. Not even mentioning Frank Gore Jr., Bucky Irving, Cody Schrader, Marshawn Lloyd, Braden Allen, or Isaiah Guerrero. I think, like I said, there are going to be a ton of teams that are absolutely ecstatic with the running backs they walk away from this draft. Oh, yeah, the Monmouth baby is an absolute nightmare. Again, of course, 49ers lead the NFL in zone running attempts. So if you're looking for a zone running back, Cody Schrader, Kamani Vidal, Blake Watson, Anthony Watkins, Frank Gore Jr. If you're a gap team like the Buffalo Bills or the LA Rams or the Detroit Lions, you're looking at Blake Corum, Dylan Johnson, Ray Davis, Audric Estime, and Vidal because he does everything. Which we talked about. Vidal going to be one of our highest rated guys in this draft for running backs. Jaden Sheridan, the Monmouth guy, like we talked about, his average pick was 251 on April 6th. Since then, he's risen his average draft position 166. I think the guy's going to be a stud. Ray Davis has rushed for or got 1,000 yards for 3 different college teams. Bell cow potential. Amani Bailey played on a really bad TCU team, and despite a 4.61, I think he's got some potential to be a good RB2 in this league. Isaiah Davis, the FCS guy, the South Dakota Jackrabbit, absolute monster, 218, 457, 40. I think, again, he's going to be a running back to keep an eye on. Audric Estime got compared to Steelers Hall of Fame legend. in his running style. Might not work for everybody, but in the right system, the kid's going to succeed. And Dylan Lobb is going to bring you one of the best pass catchers in this draft. He's a great returner, including a 100-yard touchdown return, and he's also a really good running back, 5'10", 206 with a 4.5 speed. Don't forget my boy Dylan Lobb. Tight ends, not impressed with this class. Ben Simmett, Theo Johnson, A.J. Barner going to be the best blocking tight end in this class. And then our FCS guy is going to be Cam Grandy from Illinois State. Cade Stover, also one of the most sure-handed guys in this draft, one of 11 tight ends with no drops. Harbaugh will take Blake Corum, probably. I would not be surprised. And No Border says Frank Gore Jr. is ours. Dude, Frank Gore is going to be such a steal. Jalen Coker, the Holy Cross kid, I'm telling you, keep an eye out for this kid. He's pretty low on some draft boards, but he just gives me that certain feeling. Malik Washington lights up every single board that is. The dude's a dog. He's going to be the Tank Dell of this draft. Mark my words. Jacob Cowing is a target monster. He's a little small in that 168 size, but like the scout note says right here, dude was always taking targets, 3,000 snaps, never was below a 25% threat rate. And especially, you're going to see with a lot of these wide receivers, they all have special teams value. Anaya Smith, the Texas A&M guy, 21 reps on the bench press. Again, has return value, third most punt return yards in college football last year behind Xavier Worthy and Keon Coleman. Anthony Gold, the Oregon State Beaver, 5'8", 174, just looked like he ran really well. And first in the 10-yard split, another special teams guy. Wide receiver Jaquan Jackson just looked really good in the gauntlet. 9th overall returner, 7th in punt returns. He's just, I'm telling you, when he ran in the gauntlet, he looked like a running back. So keep an eye out for him. When I saw him, I didn't think he'd have 4.4 speed, and he did. And our last little guy, Ryan Flournoy, 6'1", 201 pounds, 4'4", 440. Might take a little bit of time to develop, but in year 2, I think he might turn into a very valuable contributor. Tackles, real quick, running down this board. Going to see a lot of these guys probably come 3rd round. Patrick Paul, best pass blocking tackle in college football last year. Also had a lucky 777 snaps. Dominic Puny might actually play at guard, but was a really good left tackle for Kansas out there. Basically had the same pressure rate as Joe Alt. Christian Jones, we drafted him earlier in this draft, right tackle out of Texas. Honestly, he was the 4th best lineman on that line. The 5th best, or aka worst, being the right guard beside him. Look out in the next few years for those Texas linemen coming out. Javon Foster, we just talked about, 3rd overall tackle, 4th in run, 5th in left tackle snaps, and a really good zone guy. Again, I think there are some really good tackles in this draft that are going to be there in rounds 3 through 5. And then our final guy that might take a little bit of time to develop but has good utility, Delmar Glaze. Really got to work on his run blocking, but he's got snaps at both positions. And then real quick, interior offensive lineman Cooper Beebe coming off the board in the 3rd round. Wouldn't be surprised if he comes in the 2nd. One of our 2 absolute dogs. The second guy, of course, being Mason McCormick, teammate of Isaiah Davis, our running back earlier in this draft. This is another guy that's just going to blow people up in the trenches probably. Tanner Bordolini played center for the Wisconsin Badgers, 6'4", 303. Really good movement at the combine. First in the 20-yard shuttle and cone. 2nd and 10-yard split. Just looked good in positional drills. Actually played better at right tackle than he did at guard. And one of our few gap guys. Most of these guys are going to be graded out better in zone schemes. But let me double check here. Dominic Puny is one of our guys, better in gap than zone. And Tanner Bordolini's one, better gap than zone. Buke Slimmer, another guy, 6'5", 302, 39 bench reps at 225. 11th overall center, third in run, very low pass. So again, got to work on the pass protection. But the thing is this, he played center at Arkansas, but he played better at right guard the previous 2 years. And his best games this year came versus LSU and Bama. Another guy better in gap than zone. And then finally, Jalen Sundell, Matt Lee, and Donnie Ventrelli. So Jalen Sundell is listed a tackle. He's probably going to guard. Everyone knows his name. Matt Lee is the last rated center on PFF's board. I think he's going to be an absolute steal for an NFL team. Hasn't allowed a sack in 2 years. Had over 1,000 snaps at center last year. Third best pass protecting center. Third overall. 13th in run. Like I said, steal. And one of our FCS guys to keep an eye on. Not on a lot of draft boards. Donnie Ventrelli, the 6'4", 300 guard. Second in FCS run, 13th in pass. So, like I said, keep an eye out for those guys. I really think that they are going to turn into absolute monsters, some of them. And at the worst, you're going to get a very valuable backup. Let's see, and I got to put all my numbers back. 150, 150, 550. 550. Booyah. That doesn't look right. It's supposed to be 550. It's supposed to be 150. There we go. All right, back on the clock here. Ooh, Christian Boyd here at 218. Absolutely ecstatic to pick up that young man. Going to be on our draft special next week. Ooh, there's Frank Gore Jr. I could take him if I wanted to, but I'm not. Let's see here. This is probably where I'm going to take Solomon Byrd off the board. Oops. Another edge rusher. Is this my last pick? Yep, pick 250. Last pick for me in the draft. Frank Crum, Delmar Glaze, good options there this late. You know, there's not a lot of good options. Omar Brown actually going to be on my draft special tomorrow. Really excited about him. Hanson I wanted to like, but I just could not get into it. Ezram's going to be a really good developmental tackle in the draft. Just missed out on my draft special. Hayden Hatton's been gaining some traction actually as well. Ooh, there's Matt Lee. I don't need a center though. Well, in this case, that's tough. Guess I'll take my backup quarterback here. Who? Yeah, I'm going to take Plumey. Great fraternity. A jackrabbit. Oh, I know. That picture is golden, right? Tanner Bordellini, too. His hair. Just, oh. Let's see. I mean, like, I'd be happy, but I missed out on too much really good talent. I'm going to run that back one time. So let's see. Do we get similar results here a little bit? We do. Very interesting, the drops going on. Oakland took JJ. Interesting. I am still going to mock the trade to the Patriots. It just makes way too much sense. For 103. I could very easily see that trade happening. I would, like I said, love to go down a little more. But it's just not going to be able to happen. So right here, I feel like I need to pull the shot on my wide receiver in my corner. I don't quite need my left tackle of the future. I could go get him, which would be Jordan Morgan. But I don't need it yet. I would, of course, like I said, love to find another quarterback happy team, but there's 1, 2, 3 players I would take right now. So I need to take one of the 3, either Mike Sanderstill, Keon Coleman, Braden Fisk. Braden Fisk moves down the board because of Matabike signing, which leaves me Sanderstill, which the Ravens kind of do need a strong slot guy, or Keon Coleman, who of course been falling down boards, but Ayuk to the Jags. You played them this year. Did it happen, or are you hypothetical? I'm glad we signed Bateman to extension, honestly, earlier today. Ayuk to the Jags would be nasty. I think I'm going to take Keon. I'm going to believe in Keon. But we have bait, man. I could take Rakestraw, too. I don't like the injuries. I think I'm taking Saner still here. Did that trade happen? Are you fucking with me? Oh, on the clock with pick 62. Beautiful, beautiful. And once again, a lot of the players I really wanted are gone. It hurts. It hurts. See, we met with Corley, so I know we like him. Ooh, the Bears just unveiled a $5 billion plan for a lakefront stadium. Amon St. Brown got a 4-year extension. Ooh, not only did T. Higgins request a trade, but so did Trey Hendrickson. Ooh, Bengals are falling apart a little bit. I think I still take Nealon off the board here. This is a tough one. I could totally see Jalen McMillan. See, this is where I want to make a trade. So I want to come, let's see. There's a good guard on the board. Who needs a good guard? New York does. Let's see if we can make this happen. Beautiful. Pick 70. See, I already took a corner off the board. And I already, man, where did I lose him to? How high did he go? Fuck, I gotta start thinking about that. I mean, he was gone before I even had my pick. You know what? I'm going to take Jalen Hurts. Little high, but he's got a lot of potential. Ian Rapport is speculating. I see. Round 3. Yeah, I'm taking Malik. God, see, my draft like that is just so many players I like in the same area now. Oh, did I not? I'm such an idiot. My draft's just going to be too much of the same. I'm going to just mix it up here a little bit. Ooh, there's Isaiah Davis. Definitely feel like we're going to see some reaches on some players. The question is just how many and who. Oh, see, Chris Abrams was there. Should have taken another corner. I got to start paying more attention to that. When the corners are going, there's Jalen Coker going to the Chiefs. Of course he would go to the Chiefs. Of course he would. There's Jaquan. Glad to see some of these guys get a little recognition. So the corner picks start at 127. So the end of the 4th. So I need to load up on the end of the 4th instead of the 3rd. I'm about to end my stream though. I gotta go walk the dog. I gotta get ready for the draft tomorrow, honestly. I'm really excited about that. I'm just, like I said at the beginning of the stream, guys, I've been doing a lot of work on the car. Just did the front end shocks and struts, and then the girlfriend went to start the car yesterday and the battery was dead. So today I went to go get the battery done and try to get the nail or get a schedule appointment for getting a nail fixed in the tire. And the only good side is my battery was 3 months left on its warranty, 3-year warranty. So I got a brand new battery for free, which is always great. But with that, guys, that's going to be the end of course, our offensive draft special. Tune in tomorrow before the draft. We'll be going live to do the defensive draft special as quickly as we can. Let's see, we took about an hour 53 today, so we'll get that scheduled probably around 5 o'clock tomorrow. Definitely, there's not as many stats that go into the defensive side as the offensive side, so we'll hopefully be able to work through it a little quicker. To the 30 people who dropped in today, we appreciate you. And if you drop in the future, much appreciated. But I'll be honest, guys, this might be our last year stream, and nobody cares, So, but all right, with that, I'm your boy D-Rave. I'm heading out. I got to go make a pizza.